The views expressed in the following podcast have been found guilty in a court of law of sedition and treason. They do not reflect the opinions of our employers, spouses, friends, family, or defense lawyers. On the plus side, we don't have to pay them since we lost the court case. Your mileage may vary. Welcome to Two and Change. The people are real, the drinking is real, and the opinions, unfortunately, are also real. Today, we eagerly await the arrival of Mike into the studio.
Yes, as is tradition.
Quite.
Indeed.
It's a beautiful evening for this sort of activity. As we observe the motorway ahead, we find Mike proceeding toward in his Honda Civic that dates back all the way to 2018.
The traditional vehicle of the Jansons has been part of the podcast arrival ceremony since late 2017.
And now, we see Michael in his traditional attire. He is wearing the traditional denim trousers as befits one of his station, along with the traditional Janssen's family fedora.
A very safe and traditional choice.
Yes, very traditional. Quite an astute observation, Joshua.
Yes, Timothy.
Hey guys, you already recording? I actually thought I was a little early.
As Mike proceeds into the recording studio, we get a hopeful glint in the eyes of a young man who eagerly awaits his role in such a marvelous tradition.
What? Okay, no, I vetoed this script.
As Mike protests the script, the nation breathlessly awaits for its first look.
We can't help but wonder if what Her Majesty, the Queen of Canada, must be feeling at this very moment.
As is tradition.
Yes, tradition.
Look, I told you a royal wedding parody was boring and, frankly, a little past the sell-by date as a joke. I don't even see what this would have to do with the Prince Harry potentially becoming our next Governor General.
As a look of panic and quiet desperation sets in, the nation is on its edge of its seat. Will this be the end of an era?
Will the nation receive their new podcast? Or they in for several hours of disappointment?
Nope, not going to engage.
Tragedy has struck a mournful nation.
The entire country, nay, the entire world, grieves with Two and Change tonight.
In a sorry display truly not befitting a man of Michael's station, he appears to be removing his trousers now down to his knickers.
I fail to see the tradition in this.
Quite untraditional.
Indeed.
Quite.
I'm not... I know what you're trying to do.
Oh my goodness, is that his Willie?
Indeed it is, Timothy!
That show!
What a poor sport he is!
Oh, sod off!
There he is.
Finally. Welcome to Two and Change. This is Josh and I.
Joshua.
This is Benjamin.
Benjamin.
This is Benjamin. And I'm
Oh,
drinking a German beer today.
A German beer.
Yes.
The Jerry's. Here.
Here, the cherries. Well, we don't get the name. We don't get the name from the jerry can for nothing.
Weissbeer.
All right. I'm drinking some sort of Oktoberfest beer still.
Technically a Märzen, not a Weissbier.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yes.
I don't know my beers.
How dare you, sir?
How dare I?
How dare you?
Yeah, get me a large glass of brandy.
A snifter of port.
By the way, I notice you don't have any brandy on your shelf.
We don't. I don't drink brandy.
You don't have any brandy.
I don't need brandy.
This must be rectified.
All right. Well, I've never even had brandy.
She's a fine girl.
Brandy comes from the word for burnt wine.
Why would I? But burnt.
Don't ask any questions.
Okay.
Just drink the shit. And this is Mike. I am drinking some Crown Royal with apple flavoring in it. It's very interesting.
Tastes like Jolly Rancher. Don't listen to him.
I've had it before.
This is all lies.
Josh described it earlier as something that smells like Jolly Rancher and tastes like it's Jolly Rancher after somebody has thrown it up. So it's he's trying his best not to make me enjoy this. I did enjoy it. It's not your Tomatin 12, but you know, after drinking vodka on the last episode, I was like, you know what? Let's go back to whiskey anyway.
And this is Tim. I'm drinking a 40 Creek Copper Pot. Canadian rye. It's quite good. It's got a copper pot
Taste
tones
to it.
Yeah, it's very coppery.
Very copper and very potty.
So for today's topic,
Yes.
this is more of a fun topic but it's going to devolve into a very serious screaming match, I'm sure.
It absolutely is.
It was floated. I'm not sure where I originally read this. Might have been the CBC, but talking about Prince Harry becoming the next Governor General of Canada. Just as a thought exercise, I think. But a lot of people seem to like this idea. And it wouldn't be unprecedented. It wasn't actually until probably the 1960s or 70s that our Governor Generals were actually Canadian as opposed to being British.
Our longtime loyal listeners will remember an episode that we did on Justin Trudeau's socks. This is going to be roughly the same caliber.
Yes.
Way more sober than that episode was.
But there will be equal amounts of champagne in my ass.
Also that, yeah.
Can't let it go.
I was like 7 in when we started recording that.
And that's just fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Prince Harry. I actually like William Shatner better, but Prince Harry would be good as a Governor General.
I can just imagine William Shatner giving the throne speech.
So it's time to do the throne speech.
He's not a robot.
I know. Like every word.
It's time to do the robot speech.
No, what you have to do is slow down a little bit, but then you speed back up in various places for a bit of dramatic effect. That's how you do Shatner.
That was uncanny. I thought I was the guy who was good at impressions, but
Shatner
man,
I can do.
That was incredible.
Today's budget, we have to look at the social spending.
Exactly.
In Nunavut.
I really want this guy to be our Governor General now.
No, you don't. He's
And
an ass.
Vulcan, Manitoba is now the capital.
Exactly.
I thought it was in Alberta.
Vulcan? Vulcan? That's a
It's in
town
Alberta?
in
It's
Canada?
Alberta.
Yeah, there's a town called Vulcan.
It's somewhere in the prairies. This is just
There's an
grass.
island
It
off
doesn't
Sicily
matter.
called Vulcan. I thought that's what it was named after.
Well, we're Vulcan, like Star Trek.
Yeah, Vulcan.
Well, but I'm sure the town wasn't named after Spock. I mean, they would just called it fucking Spock. if
They
that was
would
the
have,
case.
yeah. We've lost Josh.
All right. So
Battlestar.
All right, so obviously this is going to devolve into a conversation at some point. Do we need the monarchy? Okay, so first of all, how about we talk instead about the Governor General, just in a vacuum? So
Sure.
we'll leave the monarchy discussion aside for just a moment.
Just a minute, yeah.
So for our listeners who aren't sure, the Governor General is technically
the
head-
representative of the Queen.
is technically the head of the Canadian government.
Yeah.
Well, the Queen is, but the technical representative of the Queen is the Governor General.
That's right.
It's a ceremonial
Directly from the crown to the head of Canadian Parliament is also the one who asks the Prime Minister to do things like form government.
That's right, or really any coalition. Technically, it's within the Governor General power to assign any party the government,
And typically,
in case there's a disagreement between parties.
exactly. Now, in most cases, that never ends up like he usually ends up just deferring to what the will of the Canadian people
she.
is. He or she,
Thank you.
yeah, will defer to what the will of the Canadian people is. It has happened before where government couldn't get anything done. This is in Australia now, part of the Commonwealth, so they have a very similar system of government that we do. And it happened before where the Prime Minister was not willing to budge on some kind of issue that was stalling the government. They couldn't get anything done. And so the Governor General literally fired the Prime Minister, made the leader of the opposition the Prime Minister, so that Prime Minister would call an election.
No, that happened in Canada too.
When did that happen?
1920s being
Oh, okay,
something
wait.
affair.
Yeah, but
It was later than that, though. Like in Australia, it was just like, and I remember this. Jordan
Yeah,
told me all about it. There was this moment where the Prime Minister, well, ex-Prime Minister, walked into the Governor General's office, went to the media, and went, "God save the Queen, because no one will save the Governor General." And it was this incredible,
Because the Governor General is not appointed by the Queen. The Governor General is actually appointed by the government, which makes it a very interesting. Which makes it a very
No,
interesting
it's appointed
dynamic.
by the Queen at suggestion of the government.
there,
But
exactly.
okay, that's
The Queen can go
legally yes.
Fuck off! I'm going to put who I want you to.
exactly,
You made the Queen like fuck off. I do what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have you-
I don't think the Queen has ever talked like this. She
Queen
doesn't.
Isabella talked exactly like
She
that.
does not use her hands enough to talk like this.
What accent is this? Are we back to Italian now?
We're back to Italian.
like terrible, like racist Italian.
That's yeah.
it's a
very, very-
Mario. Luigi.
Giuseppe,
no.
why you know
You
appoint
say
the Prime
that it's
Minister?
like
huh?
racist Italian, but back when I was in sales, I was up in Sudbury, and I actually ended up in the house of like this Italian family, and I was trying to sell
Italian.
an Italian family, and like it was that accent, and it was complete with hand gestures. Like this guy could not say a word without using his hands. It was incredible.
Boppity boopity.
Exactly.
So, actually, funny story. So when I was
He
a kid,
used the word motherfucker, and it was hilarious coming from this guy who's like extremely obese Italian guy who's like 5'5" and like
Mario, you sold something to Mario.
It was yeah. And he started talking about his neighbors, like, oh, the motherfucker. And he was complaining about how some guy's dog.
Hey, Luigi, get your dog off the lawn.
You laughed. That was exactly it. His neighbor's dog had shit on his lawn, and he was cursing like an Italian. It was so fun. I was trying very hard not to laugh hysterically at this guy because he was the stereotypical Italian.
Speaking of Italians, so
Yes.
when I was a kid, there was this radio station that had this advertisement. Every day they read the menu off for an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
But the woman they had reading off the menu wouldn't say she had a very elegant speaking voice. You could pick, if her name was Madge or Marge, you wouldn't be surprised. And then one day she talked about the Italian pork chops.
The Italian.
She said Italian pork chops.
Italian. Yeah.
The very next day, I think, she was replaced.
Exactly, yeah.
With Vinny.
Yeah, with Vinny. Hey, the Italian pork chops.
It got a little more, well, not quite that animated, but yeah.
It's not like the A bada boom bada bing guy.
No, hey. It's
Yeah.
not the fonts.
Yeah. A bada boom bada bing.
All right. So, Governor General.
General.
So they do have some function, but really it's more ceremonial in practice.
It's very ceremonial.
It's extremely rare that the Governor General would actually do so. So there was an actual, 2008 or 2009 when there was talk of a coalition government forming between the NDP and Liberals.
Yes.
And there was talk of the NDP and Liberals going to the
Governor General
to form. So that would be the sort of role where they would have the role to play, and then Stephen Harper furloughed the government, you asshole. But anyway, we saw how that turned out.
Hang on. Doesn't that mean that he usurped the crown?
Technically, no, because he didn't. He
didn't furlough the government, by the way. He prorogued.
Oh, prorogue. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. When the Americans shut down the government, they shut down the government. When we prorogue the government. Shut down,
Which are
so
great.
blasé.
Hey, prorogue is great, especially. So the trick is you have to boil them first, then you fry them in a bit of butter.
And
a little bit of onion, and
you're talking about a different thing there, Tim.
But the celery and the bell pepper right at the percent, so they're not too soft.
Don't forget a little bit of the paprika. A little bit of paprika makes them
smoked paprika. That's real
I'm
key.
still waiting on my order, Josh. I'll give you money. I want more.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? 2 and Change listeners, Josh makes spice, and it's really good.
And it must flow.
And it must flow.
Dude, I tried a little bit of spice. I was calculating navigations all the way across the fucking galaxy.
You know, it was like you used
and
it
if
as,
you get that joke, congratulations.
didn't Laura use it as like a rub on some ribs?
We used it as a rib rub, and then we put a sweeter sauce on top of it, and it actually turned out very well.
Very, very nice.
But it works as a really good dry rub.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah,
we want your spice.
Tim likes dry rubs.
You build up enough momentum, you don't care.
Exactly. Yeah. And we died. Yeah.
Anyway, hey, I don't think our listeners are expecting better. Let's face it.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. So, Governor General,
yes,
somewhat important but largely ceremonial role. Prince Harry. Should we do that, or should we have a Canadian?
I'm game. I like the guy. I like him, and I like the fact that we have a Governor General in Canada.
They seem to have a specific affinity towards. Again, we're not talking about the efficacy of the role. That's going to be after the break. But
how am I supposed to say something like, "Yeah, I like this guy for a role that I don't believe should exist"?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel bad for Josh the way that you're structuring this, moderator Tim.
Yes. Yeah. Squirm, Josh. Squirm.
I don't squirm.
I know. Okay,
it's a pointless role, so why do I care?
Well, okay, sure.
Well, who's in it or who's not? Because it should be gone.
Who's it right now? I mean, that's how important it is right now to the Canadians that most Canadians don't even know who it is. So
actually, I don't know who it is.
It's David somebody.
I
remember it was.
I thought it was a woman.
It was Michael Jean, but that was like 5 years ago.
No, she ended up being the president of the Francophonie or something.
And she didn't get reelected.
And Justin Trudeau didn't back her.
Well, didn't back her because there was some scandals there, and frankly, the African bloc in France weren't backing her either.
By Harper, we were really surprised there was some scandal.
Yeah, well, I mean, she seemed like nice. I did respect what she did around the seal meat controversy. Remember that? So
I don't.
All right, so in Europe, they banned the export of Canadian seal meat.
Yes, I do remember this.
And, I mean, okay, I get, images of baby seals being clubbed to death. It's probably not the best thing you can associate. But
not exactly an advertising campaign.
But then again, unless you're a vegan, piss off. That's what
exactly. Yep.
Be consistent.
Yep.
That's my only
Be consistent when you beat the seals.
It could be the very last.
That's how you get good
It could be the very last Black Widow tarantula on the face of the earth, and they would not care. Kill it. But
frankly, as long as it was marinated in its own tears,
Yes.
then it's delicious.
Exactly. Yep.
Really, any animal.
Yep.
And you know what?
Confession time. I've never eaten seal meat.
Me neither.
Oh, you. Well, what are you talking
Colleen's
about? Marinating the shit in your own.
Colleen's eating seal meat, but
Is it any good?
It's a joke about how it died in horrible pain and in a horrible situation that it cried itself.
I don't think it would be in that much pain if it got clubbed over the head hard.
Well,
enough.
that's the idea. I mean, how do you think they kill cows? They have like a bolt gun, same freaking thing.
like
exactly.
Emerald would have like
Bam!
little bit of puppeteers. Bam! Yeah, that's all. Knock it out.
I actually had someone arguing with me.
on that bitch, and you're good to go.
I actually had someone argue with me talking about how, if you go to the slaughterhouse, there's these animals screaming out in pain and everything else. And I'm just like, okay, so first of all, if that happened, the meat would be ruined because the adrenaline would get into the meat and it would make the meat taste like a leather boot.
Do you remember that guy from PBS from Louisiana that used to do cooking shows?
I don't, but if you find a link, we'll put it up there.
Okay, yes.
And we are coming to our break, so when we come
are.
back, we'll have our little monarchy debate just to keep Josh happy.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be right back.
I'll be prepared to defend it. You're listening to Two and Change, the podcast where whiskey is the most superior drink.
Hold on just one damn minute. There are many drinks out there.
Like Kahlua and coffee. I need
And
my
beer.
caffeine and beer.
And those drinks exist. Whiskey is better. You know what else is better? Our website, twoandchange.ca. You
Better
can
than
also,
what?
Better than all of the above. Where you can also find our blog at twoandchange.ca. You can also look us up on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us there, and hopefully you're enjoying the show.
Okay, so we're all fine with Prince Harry. Two of us because we like him, and one of us because who gets to play Santa Claus in the Easter parade because it doesn't make any difference. However, because the point is, one, Santa Claus is children plug your ears. Santa Claus is made up, and he wouldn't be in the Easter parade anyway. So why the hell should I care?
Right.
So see, it does work. I did have a thought process ahead of time.
I hear you. That's the Masters of Music degree working right there, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, education works.
Yes.
Josh is snickering.
Hey, you got your degree too.
Yeah, it's.
I've almost got mine.
What is it in?
Hey, high five.
13 courses left.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like
Historiography?
So like salad, dessert,
Yes.
entree.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Soup.
Soup. Soup. Yeah, there's a soup course.
I'm working on accounting.
cold soup.
Accounting
Gazpacho.
102 right now. It's kind
Nice.
of fun.
All right. So the Governor General relates back to the monarchy.
Yes, it does.
First of all, you cannot talk about the Governor General
Without talking
about the monarchy.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, I think I've expressed this opinion on the show before. I happen to be a monarchist because, frankly, I believe that even if we were to completely eliminate the position, we would still need some sort of check on the prime minister's power, as weak as it is.
Yep.
You still need, every parliamentary system has a figurehead of government that is not the prime minister.
Yes.
That is just by design how the parliamentary system works.
Yes, it is.
So without reworking our parliamentary system into something where we have a unitary executive like an American system,
Which is also not perfect at all.
which I'm not a fan of,
Yeah.
I believe that we need some sort of figurehead for government. So I'm like, okay, why not get the nice lady with the fun accent in the nice hat to be our figurehead of government and let another country pay for it?
And keep in mind,
I'm okay with
she's
this.
not just the Queen of England. She is the Queen
Separately,
of Canada.
the Queen of Canada.
Exactly. Which
And
means
it
that when
doesn't-
she dies, the Queen, the
Prince
crown,
Charles will be King Charles, and King Charles will be the King of Canada.
Exactly. He'll be the King of Canada and
As
the
is
King of
tradition.
England. As is tradition. Yes, quite.
Tradition.
Tradition. So
Hey.
That's basically the
Copyright.
monarchy.
I value the tradition of the monarchy as well, not necessarily because it's cheap. Yes, because it's cheap, but also because
But
to
tradition.
me,
You're Dutch.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it is. It is a very inexpensive way to have a government that is as not powerful as possible. To me, though, the monarchy also to me represents a way that Canada was founded without picking up guns and going to war. Like, and I actually wrote a blog about this like a long time ago.
Yeah, I
last time
remember
this
it.
came up, and I wrote like, go ahead and check it out on our website. But
We'll link it.
Oh yeah, link
We'll
it.
link it.
And but the basic idea is that if I look at American history, and I apologize to all of our American listeners here.
So both of you, we're sorry.
Yeah, exactly. If I look at American history, I see a group of people who, when they wanted independence, they went to war, and after that, every time
That
anything,
is way too narrow of a definition of how American history played out.
oh, okay, fine. But if you look at how many wars America has fought,
Basically,
like-
one every 10 years.
yeah,
Major war once every 10 years on average, yeah.
which is appalling, and it's almost like picking up weapons.
Runaway military budget is sort of...
Well, running. Listen, after the War of Independence was won, there was a whiskey rebellion in the Tennessee area, and George Washington marched an army that was literally bigger than any that had ever been mustered during the War of Independence, and went to war against those farmers who were rebelling against a whiskey tax. So they have always had the military-industrial complex, and to me, that is a cultural thing that goes everywhere from their government to their gun ownership rights.
And here's the thing, I use this phrase quite a bit. We can't necessarily fall in love with the smell of our own farts. I mean, we have our faults too, founding of our nation. I mean,
we were not perfect.
We are not perfect. I mean, we basically stole this land.
Sure.
If we're being honest here.
But when it came time for us to become independent, we did it with diplomacy and with
Because it was much later we became an independent nation.
But even if you talk about 1867,
And we are inheritors of the British, who you want to talk about going to war every 10 minutes. Holy fuck.
yeah, okay,
I mean, come on. We can't congratulate ourselves because we
Remember the Boer War.
The Boer War. I remember the Boer War.
We kicked your ancestors' asses.
Oh, shut up. That's only because we didn't think it was worth fighting for.
Afrikaans, more like Africant, am I right?
Exactly.
I see what you did there.
Oh, Crimean River.
I
That
saw
was another
Zulu.
Crimean River.
Anyway.
Monarchy is, you should die.
Okay, so
Please
what's your
explain that,
position on
Josh.
this?
That's actually
You've
pretty
had it.
simple.
Monarchy should die.
Is that it? Like,
Okay, but why?
why should monarchy
It's
die?
pointless. It's a relic of the past, and it's not something we should keep. Like it's a relic of a past that we really shouldn't be honoring. Like the crown is terrible. Like that's not something we should be honoring, and it serves no purpose.
Well,
It's not a real check. It's, no.
no.
It's not a real check on power because historically it's almost never been in Canada.
So,
I
agree there.
So and now
Let me finish, please, man. Finish that.
the prime minister is the one who suggested it's a non-elected position, and the prime minister is going to choose somebody who's more likely to agree with them. So it doesn't put a check on the prime minister or the PMO office.
Yeah.
It actually reinforces.
Actually,
that.
I disagree with that
Queen,
point.
And the Queen. The Queen doesn't gonna give a fuck what's going on in Canada. They have nothing to care.
Okay,
They don't
I'm
even
gonna
know
disagree, though.
They don't know what's going on in Canada, much less actually give a fuck what's going on.
I'm
going
going to disagree on your point about how the Governor General is, even though it's signed by... Where does Supreme Court justice come from? We don't vote them in. How are they appointed?
They are also appointed by the prime minister.
Are they just stooges for the prime minister?
There is a process for an internal process for we don't talk about it much for we do actually have MPs and stuff sit for we do have an actual committee for selecting a Supreme Court justice. That's not the same for Governor General.
Perfect. So we make a committee. There, Josh's problems are solved.
Done.
No, they're not.
Josh is now a monarchist. There.
Hey, no.
Hey,
Well, we'd like to
thanks
thank you
for listening,
joining.
everybody.
I swear you don't know our theme music.
So look. Would a committee solve your problem?
No.
Would an elected position solve your problem?
An elected Governor General, but then one just call him the President of Canada.
Sure.
Right.
Why not?
But we don't
And
have a
it
president.
decentralizes some of the power out of the PMO, and it's sort of a secondary check. And honestly, a lot of countries that have a presidential power and a parliamentary power work really well. They're good examples. I think.
Well, I guess France would be probably the best example we could think of where that works.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you have a president, you have to invest in them powers, and you have to invest in them. So if you strengthen the office, then you must give them enforcement powers. You must give them regulatory powers. You have to give them a staff. You have to give them a building. You have to et cetera, et cetera. Now,
Expensive.
I agree that especially coming out of the Harper era and a little bit into Trudeau era here, that the PMO should not
says
have the
Chrétien.
power that it has.
Well, there's another way that you could fix that problem.
Strengthen it.
Proportional representation.
I agree with that too.
Now we have to have like governments that cooperate with each other, and there's a natural check on the balance of power with
Also,
the PMO's
defunding
office.
the whips offices would help a lot.
I'm
Yep, defunding the whips and also proportional representation. Now there's different political parties with different ideas that have to cooperate.
Now, I'm not necessarily so. If we go back to electoral systems, I'm a big fan of ranked voting as opposed to straight up
Yes.
proportional representation.
Sure.
Because I think that gives people the I think that gives people the greater good for the.
I like proportional
people,
representation because it's the solve for the Senate for me.
Problem is that if let's say you're in a conservative riding, you wind up with an MP who's NDP, then what do you do?
No,
Your representative no longer represents your constituents.
You have an MP that's conservative, but you have the Senate body is made up as a whole. So it represents Canada as a check. So it's the same premise.
Yes.
But you put your proportional representation.
Oh, you're talking about mixed proportional though.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about mixed proportional. That's a little bit different. Where basically you reconfigure the numbers based off of which I mean we tried that. We tried to vote for that in Ontario. They just didn't explain it very well. I thought it was a good idea.
Are you kidding me? That ballot was downright rigged.
How is it
just
rigged?
like, do you want the system we have now that works, or do you want? And then it gave me like a paragraph of like jargon, not one less than 3-syllable word in the.
Why
question.
is it the government's responsibility to explain the system when you have the free flow of capital in a society, Mr. Libertarian, who could bring out their own literature and something?
It's not about the free flow of information. If that question was deliberately misleading.
Why would you support a monarchy, which is literally
because it's cheap.
the antithesis
to
libertarianism.
His Dutchness is outweighing his libertarianism.
It's not even that. It's that I'm also a realist, and realistically, we're going to have a head of state. It might as well be a cheap one. Because the one that we have right now does not cost us anything.
And here's the thing: when we say that we don't necessarily need it's a relic of the past, tradition, et cetera, et cetera.
It is.
Well, so's the entire Parliament building and these statues and everything else.
But
we keep old things.
Sure.
Because
hang on. BC just tore down the statue of John A. Macdonald. Remember, because of some sin he committed, which I thought was lame.
Sin? I mean, the guy was an asshole.
Fine. Most politicians are. That doesn't mean that we don't honor the service that they give to their country.
No, see, this is where I think we put up a lot of there's a lot of statues out there that should be torn down because they immortalize
Louis Riel in Manitoba should be torn down.
No.
I just said that to piss off Josh.
Them's fighting words, you know that.
So
yeah.
Twitch.
And for our American listeners, look up Louis Riel and then
there's a Wikipedia article.
Send your hate mail not to the 2 and change email address, but to Mike's personal email address, 1600 Pennsylvania.
Exactly. Care of Jared.
Yeah, no, I think that's and the monarchy sort of falls into this. We confuse heritage and history. Right?
Okay.
And heritage has this revisionist view of how things went.
Sure.
And things like statues and my things like governor generals, and from my perspective, represent that.
Now, what about heritage minutes? Those are amazing.
Some of them
in case anyone is new, if this is your first episode, please understand we cannot take anything seriously for longer than 25 seconds. If this is that kind of show.
Did you see the heritage minute they made with Rob Ford?
No.
Oh, they made a fake one with Rob Ford where he's like at a party smoking cracks, like maybe I should be the mayor of Toronto.
That's incredible.
Anyway, I'll try and link it.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
It's exactly. A fake heritage minute. I love it.
Yeah. So you think that governor generals is part of heritage revisionist history?
That's one of the things I think about it.
I just think I don't think it's revisionist because it'd only be revisionist if there was no continuity or there's somehow it was changed. It's been changed over time, but not necessarily strengthened, but more weakened.
Yeah.
Because it's been weakened over time to the point where it's a ceremonial role, but yet if you have a parliamentary system, you still need technically an executive power. I mean,
why can't that power be elected? And why the hell does that have to be fucking appointed and associated with a country that doesn't control us anymore?
It's not associated with a country that doesn't control us anymore. It's associated with the Queen of Canada.
We still have to send money to the crown. That's ridiculous.
No, we don't.
We send $30 million.
How much money do we get back in return? Just by not having put embassies in places where the British are alone, that saves us $30 million.
That pays for it and more.
We could still have that.
But not with strong relationship. And
the other issue is here's another.
If we don't have a strong British relationship, who are other friends?
So here's another issue that
Americans.
Here's another issue. Here's another issue that I have.
Sure.
So when you go to court, right, and you need to sue the government, who do you sue?
The crown.
Exactly.
Yep.
You don't, sir.
The
you don't.
crown
No.
is the power.
Yes, but this is the problem. You don't sue the minister. You don't sue the prime minister. You don't serve individual representatives.
Sure.
You sue the crown. That's a problem.
How is that different than any? Okay, go south of the border. How is that different than?
Because you can sue the president south of the border.
Yeah,
you
but
can
if
sue,
it's
you can sue
but if
individual
it's a
members
federal,
of
but if it's a
Congress.
federal case, if you're suing the federal government, who are you suing? The United States versus. That's how those cases work.
Not
It is.
always. Sometimes it's
But
the
a great
president
deal of them
versus.
are.
Sometimes it's this minister. It's the actual individual secretary.
Or it's the
depending
people
on-
versus or something
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
I mean, the idea is that the crown is the power in Canada. That's who we
And I want to emphasize
representative-
here, not the crown of England, the crown of Canada.
That's
It is
different.
not England's crown.
But it doesn't rest on anyone then, right? And that's a problem. For
well,
me.
it does happen
Well,
to rest
fine.
on the same woman.
We'll make a nice hat. There we go. I'd like
Not
to
even that.
thank you
Not
all
even
for
that.
joining.
Actually, you
the
know what?
lack of the law. Obviously, the problem with the government general is
I
there's
do
just a
not
lack
mind.
of hats.
Like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I actually don't mind if when Queen Elizabeth passes away, that the crown passes to a Canadian. Like that there be an actual division of the crown entirely. That there be
Sure.
a crown of Canada and let Prince Charles become the king and God help England. And then in the meantime, we'll have the crown.
Prince Charles gets a bad rap, but anyway, that's a different discussion.
Let's pass the Canadian crown on to Jean Chrétien.
Kanye West.
Kanye,
No, it's
William
Canadian.
Shatner.
Drake.
Drake. Has to be Canadian.
Oh,
Queen Shania Twain.
fucking God.
Well, it ain't going to be King Tim Richard, okay? I'm just
Well,
throwing that
it
out
could.
there.
I'm extremely
Would we
liberal.
elect the first king? I'm wondering if that would be.
How can you? But you can't elect it.
That's not how that works. Some watery tot throws a sword at you. That's how that works.
Now you see the inherent violence in the system.
Exactly.
Help out by
Fine
being
right of
oppressed.
kings. What is so hard about that?
exactly.
I mean, if we're gonna embrace the monarchy, let's just go all the way.
Tradition,
Forget
tradition.
Parliament. Forget
Oh,
democracy.
come on.
Forget all those.
You know we're talking about a
Reduce
ceremonial
modern
This
figure.
is a red herring, and you know it.
Let's just go to. It's so much
Because the
simpler.
problem is that the route you're advocating.
Dictatorialship works so much. I mean, look at China. Look how well they're doing. I mean, come on.
You know, but to be
economically,
fair,
they're
they
stronger
are
than
doing
we are.
really well.
Individually, we're stronger, but okay. But here's the thing, right? So,
but in mass.
if you will go to an elected position,
Yeah.
to an elected executive body, because the crown is at the end of the day
An executive
Canada's executive body. The power of Canada
Yes.
to enact a law lies in the crown. The crown vests it in the PMO and in Parliament.
Yes.
That's how it works as a reciprocal relationship.
Yes.
If you get rid of the crown, then you would have to have an elected body. Now the problem is, while you're at it tweaking our constitution, which is a whole nother can of worms,
No
because
kidding.
no shit there.
It might be great for the native community though to get rid of the crown.
Well, I think that whole shit needs to be reworked, but I don't think you need to get rid of the crown.
It's the only way you're gonna.
There's all kinds of
I
other
think you can do it otherwise.
What happens to crown land if we get rid of the crown? What happens to crown
becomes
corporations? What happens?
Federal lands, I mean, there are ways you can do it, but the problem is what would be our system of government at that point? We would know
Anarchy.
The libertarian approves. No, he doesn't.
breaking the law.
Vive la France. Vive la France.
Nobody knows the actual words outside of France and maybe Quebec.
Right.
Will be the 51st state of Honduras.
Oh shit,
Something like
no,
that.
I think here's the thing. Like, we have enough. Like,
If you want to go to an executive like American style government,
the problem is that the inherent problem in that system is that you're going to have a strengthened executive.
You are.
I don't think we want that.
I don't want to strengthen the executive.
I'm happy with the system we have.
I want a balanced executive, and we don't have that right now.
The thing is that the balance is supposed to be. No, but I think the balance is supposed to be the fact that we have elections.
Yes, but we've
Fair
had
and free elections.
we've had a concentration of power into the PMO's office since Chrétien.
I agree
Because
with that.
because the crown has advocated more responsibility to the parliament.
Yes.
Which
But there's
is-
no checks on the PMO's office.
So you're
There
talking
isn't.
about we should strengthen
we
the
should
governor general. Then.
no, we should break up the PMO somehow. Whether that be strengthen the governor general, whether it be strengthen the Senate, make the Senate an elected position, that would also fix the problem. Whether go to
I'd
proportional
actually
representation.
I'd be fine with abolishing the Senate.
I like it as a proportional representation body. It makes it nice and easy constitutionally.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just I
feel like the Senate's way too effing expensive, and it would.
No, I don't. I think an elected Senate with long terms, I would be okay with. If it was like elected,
5 years,
but it's like
6 years, 7
like
years?
a 10-year term or something.
10-year term,
like 10 to 12.
You want them
They're
outside
lifetime
of
now.
You want them outside of the election cycle.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like the same reason why they're supposed to be like the Supreme Court. You want them free of having to campaign.
How do you feel about 10 years, but limit to 1 term? So that we don't have this re-election bullshit going on. Like right now, if you look at the American system, they're constantly campaigning.
How about if every time senators disagree, they have to fight to the death, and whoever wins
with a bat
done.
Yes.
With a bat left.
Next point of order: finish him.
Fatality.
I'm okay with an elected Senate.
The sergeant of arms beats everyone.
If we're gonna make it 10-year terms,
rap battle.
Yeah, rap battle. That's right.
About what you're debating about.
Exactly. Yeah. So you want to legalize the pot, motherfucker? Yeah. I'm okay with an elected Senate, and I'm okay with a 10-year term.
First over there, got a second.
Appropriation bills are a whack dog because we are appropriating the whack. I can't do this.
Yeah, no.
We're not, you know what? I'll do 2018 rap. I just want to go to symphony. I'll pass the bill. I'll pass the bill. Bloop. I just want to...
Put it in the air.
That's shit.
Love it.
That's Senator Dizzle.
That's right. Senator Dizzle over here. Recognize the flow, man.
Prime Minister Snoop Dogg.
Prime Minister Snoop Dogg.
I'd vote.
I'd vote for dictator Snoop Dogg. I would be okay.
Dick Cheney? What?
Dictator.
Wait.
Snoop Dogg.
Oh, dictator.
Dictator or dictator?
Dictator. Dick Shizzle, man.
We already have Aaron O'Toole. That's like the worst
I'm the
thing.
Dick
He's
Shizzle.
a dictator.
I'm the Dick Shizzle with my mizzle, and I'm gonna get this fizzle.
With this bizzle
up on the nizzle.
I'm gonna I'm putting a stop to this. Okay. All right, so I don't think we're ever gonna come to an agreement on this. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's a very interesting academic topic.
No taxation without representation.
We have representation. It's called Parliament and our own Constitution.
Well, our
Don't tread on me.
Constitution is a collection of court documents and a charter.
But part of the problem is you can't open it up because
Égalité, fraternité.
La Belle Provence
Hey!
makes it a little hard to open it up. But anyway,
well, that's why we hate them.
we are out of time. So
We
I want to
are.
thank everyone for listening today. If you're
Tolerating
enjoying
us.
this conversation, check us out on our website, toandchange.ca. Read our blog, but also keep listening to our shows. Podbean, Spotify, iTunes. Hey, go back and listen to some old shows. Why not?
And
Still
I have a
counts
Twitter
as
feed.
hit.
And I wanna-
We have
and
a
I-
Twitter feed and a YouTube feed.
And I want to put a thanks out to our sponsor, Vladimir Putin, the
That's
most
right.
supreme leader, president, who is also not favorite
Da.
monarch.
Da, Nostrovia.
That's it.
Nostrovia.
Hey, Nostrovia.
Okay.
Hey,
All right. Anyway, I'm Tim.
I'm against the monarch.
And I'm Mike.
The Monarch!
The monarch.
You ever watch
God
Venture Brothers?
save the Queen.
What's that?
You ever watch Venture Brothers?
No.
Okay, so there's a villain called the Monarch. It's sort of like a spoof of Johnny Quest, but it's really funny. There's a villain called the Monarch. It's just absolutely outrageous. It's really good.
Monarch.
No, he has
A monocle.
No, more-
it needs to be required that the new monarch of Canada wear a monocle at
and
all
a
times.
nice hat.
A nice hat and a cape.
The sergeant of arms also
An airline gown.